Hello, this is the Consumer Choice Center, and today we have the great pleasure to interview a Member of Parliament from South Africa. Willie Aucamp is a Member of Parliament for the Democratic Alliance, which is the largest opposition party in South Africa. And today we want to talk about the lockdowns in South Africa induced by COVID-19. We have now over 100 days of lockdowns, Willie. And first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. Greetings to Cape Town.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah, it's a privilege to be with you guys, and greetings from our wonderful country, and especially this beautiful Cape Town city of ours. So yeah, it's an honor to be with you guys.
Great. So unfortunately, facing a global pandemic, South Africa is not exempt from this. And as almost every country in the world, you're facing growing case numbers of COVID. And if I'm right, last weekend was the lockdowns hit day 100. So you have now over 100 days of lockdowns. And I'm a health economist, and I'm always really interested in looking at how countries react to this very new threat. And what really surprised me when I read the news is to see that South Africa had like very draconic measures early on, such for instance, banning the sale of alcohol or cigarettes or vaping products. And I was just wondering, what is your opinion on this? Is it necessary to ban these daily products of life to contain COVID?
Yeah, Fred, just to start, obviously this whole pandemic is really hitting hard on the whole of the world. And firstly, I want to say that our condolences go out to each and every person, every family that has been in some sort of another been influenced by this, that has lost a loved one or that are sick at the moment. I think that is the most important thing. We as a nation in South Africa, but also we as a nation, a world nation, people of the world, need to stand together in this. But that does not mean that we must have our rights being trampled on. It's of utmost importance that there must be a balance between lives on the one hand and livelihoods on the other, especially if you look at a country like South Africa and our economic challenges that we've got. Now, to answer your question, firstly, yeah, we are now at 106 days of lockdown, and there has been some totally unacceptable draconian measures. For instance, the ban on the sale of tobacco products. It is something that has now been banned for 106 days. People in South Africa are not allowed to buy cigarettes. Now, it's easy to say that if you're not a smoker, but I think it is even the non-smokers in the world that must stand together with the right of smokers. Not only the right to smoke, but the right of choice that they have got. In South Africa, I've asked in one of our parliamentary sittings, I've asked our Minister of Police, Minister Becky Cele, whether he agrees with the fact that it is reasonable, because I don't agree with it, but that it is reasonable for a South African citizen to get a criminal record just because you bought a cigarette. And he agreed with me. Well, not agreed with me. He said that it is true. You must get a criminal record if you buy a cigarette because it's against the law. Now, the problem that we've got is now you've got all these draconian measures prohibiting you from buying cigarettes and in the beginning also from buying alcohol products. In 2 years' time or in a year's time from now, somebody might apply for a job. But now in this COVID pandemic period of lockdown, he was arrested for buying a cigarette. Now it's on his record. He's got a criminal record, and that will prevent him from obtaining a job. So it's totally unreasonable. And that seen in the background of not enough, nearly close enough medical evidence that it really has an effect on COVID. But yeah, so it is draconian, and our government should have done much better with regards to that.
And I mean, many countries right now discuss criminal justice reform to decriminalize a lot of small offenses because it limits social mobility, and by actually criminalizing more aspects of the daily life, you make it even harder for low-income households or poor people or low education background to actually have even a chance in the job market. So that's a very good point you bring in.
Fred, just to come in there, we've got approximately 11 million smokers in South Africa. And all indications are that not even 1 million of them have quitted during this time. So it gives us around about 10 million people, smokers, that are on a daily basis buying cigarettes at this moment in South Africa. So what this has done it has criminalized 10 million people in South Africa. If I go out now and I buy a cigarette, so by the way, I am a smoker. If I go out and I buy a cigarette, I might get a criminal record. And I'm not a criminal. And so are there a lot of people out there that are not criminals, but all of a sudden, with this draconian measures, government has made criminals out of them, and that's not fair. It's totally unreasonable.
So we at the Consumer Choice Center started looking at this entire prohibition in South Africa about 5 weeks ago, and worked with a couple of influencers and thought leaders to write opinion pieces and go on TV in South Africa to talk about this issue. And when we started working, the cases of COVID were actually fairly comparable small to other countries in the world, low. So, but now what I could, at least looking at the incidents over the last couple of weeks, what I could see is that cases are climbing up a lot while other countries start finally having less active cases per day. And in South Africa, I think it just surpassed my home country, Germany, even though we have a larger population. So do you even think that this prohibition, does it actually help to contain COVID, or does it maybe even do nothing or the opposite of it?
I can tell you out of my own opinion that the prohibition on cigarettes is most certainly not preventing COVID from spreading. There are absolutely no medical evidence of saying that a person that smokes can more easily get COVID. There are absolutely no medical evidence to that effect. So to say that the prohibition on the sale of tobacco must continue because people are more in danger of getting COVID is absolutely not true. To come to the figures in South Africa, one of the reasons why our figures were very low is the fact that there was not enough testing that took place. The Western Cape government, it's a province in South Africa, they, the Democratic Alliance, our party, is the governing party. And from day one, if you compare the amount of testing that took place in the Western Cape compared to the 8 other provinces that are run by the ANC, the Western Cape tested much more in the beginning and even now. And that helped us to do tracing and identifying of people. But unfortunately, the pandemic in South Africa is enhanced by the fact that draconian measures make or lead to the fact that people start to ignore it. If you get more and more laws that are enforced upon you and you deem it as unreasonable, you will start to ignore a lot of other rules. Social distancing is a very difficult thing, especially if you go in the rural areas of South Africa. It's not easy to apply that there. And yeah, we are very concerned of the fact that currently 3 of our provincial premiers have contracted COVID. So it's really hitting home and it's hitting hard. And again, our condolences go out to everybody that's been affected by this.
Okay, that's not good news. Willie, thank you so much for taking the time. We'll keep fighting for consumer choice and smart responses to COVID and not draconian, unnecessary responses in South Africa and across the world. Thank you so much for taking the time, Willie. You hopefully have a good weekend down there at the Cape. Yes.
Sorry, can I just add one last thing?
Absolutely.
It's important for me to drive this home because it's covering this whole thing. We are sitting in South Africa, and this gets up to the point of why is this ban continuing? We've got our president that at the end of April announced to the country that this ban will be lifted, that smoking or the buying of cigarette products will be allowed. Just 5 days thereafter, have our Minister of Corporate Governance, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who just coincidentally was his main rival for the leadership of the ANC, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma came out and she contradicted him and decided to keep on carrying on with this ban. We are sitting in our country at this moment with a president that is not willing to stand up against his associates, and therefore he will not be able to stand up for his people. You must never put your party in front of your country, and unfortunately that is what happens here, and the rights of consumers are being hampered and trampled upon due to the fact that that is happening. But yeah, thank you so much. It was an honor to speak with you guys.
That is a great closing statement. Willie, I hope we can repeat that soon, maybe hopefully about a different topic, because we all hope that this ban and prohibition is over soon. Thank you so much. All the best for your work and talk soon.
Thank you very much, Fred. I see the wine in the background. We can discuss South African wine exports in the future. Thank you so much.
That sounds fantastic. Many bad policies in that area as well. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
All of the best. Bye-bye.